Hello, I've just been waiting to see if anybody else is going to be coming on the call, and they're going to come in as and when they do, and I'll just speak to them and ask them to mute their microphone. The evening tonight is about cultured food and fermented food, and the name of the club is Cultured Club. So I'm just going to do a little intro. Hi, Anne. Hello.
Oh. That's a bit too loud. I'm good, thank you.
All right, okay. I'm just going to do a little intro, and we've got some other people coming in kind of like later on in the call. So you're ready, then I'll just start.
Okay.
All right. What you want to do is probably just mute your microphone. Do you know how to do that? All right. So this evening we're going to be talking about cultured food and why cultured food is so important to us. And the name of the evening is the Cultured Club, and we're doing like a 6 weeks introduction to raw and cultured foods. And I've just found that they've just been so beneficial, and the next step up after discovering detoxing, cleansing, raw food, and now fermented food. And every time I get something new that's really worked very, very well for me, I want to introduce it to other people as well. Hey, hi Julie. Hi there. All right, I'm just doing a quick. Hi there. You want to just put your microphone on mute, and then I'll just carry on with the evening. Hi, darling. Yeah, so I was just saying the reason that I've got into cultured food is because I've realised that it's made such a big difference to me after the detoxing and after the raw food. And so I will carry on progressing, and so I will carry on discovering and learning all the different things that help us with our health. And my other main passion is about being more connected to the body, which is what we're going to discover in these 6 weeks as well. It's just so important that we get to know that the guts are really, really important for us. As we say, you know, all health starts in the guts, as well as all disease starts in the guts as well. And this is what we're going to be coming to terms with, learning about, and getting familiar with. And as you make the raw foods and the cultured and fermented foods that I'm going to show you tonight, we're going to start with something very, very easy. You'll start to notice, hopefully, changes within yourself. So take the courage and make some of the dishes and things that I show you, because they will start to make an immediate difference for you. And what I would suggest is that you start slowly. So, you know, just 1 spoonful or something like that with your meal, and ramp it up, because when you're introducing quite potent foods like these fermented foods are, they're so high in probiotics. It'll make quite a difference to the yeah, I call them the population inside your guts. It's the bacteria, which I shall go into a little bit in a minute. So we're going to just introduce ourselves to our guts in the fact that they are the second brain. They've got an awful lot of information and intelligence, and they're very sensitive. They are made up of skin that's just 1 cell thick. And if you think of the skin on our body, it's 7 cells thick, and you know how absorbent that is, and why the drug companies and things are making hormone patches and anything to do with absorbing. They're actually putting patches on the skin now for drugs. So you know how permeable the skin is. So imagine that the guts is just 1 cell thick. So everything that you're putting into your body is potentially going to be leaking through and hopefully being absorbed properly for what it's actually you're eating it for, the nutritional value, that it will be leaking into your body as well. So it's just to start being very aware and conscious of what we're actually eating. The way that I decided I was going to start looking at the guts was after somebody else had described it this way, and it just made such a difference for me, understanding that the bacteria in your guts, we're like we're like their ruler, so we decide what they get to eat, what they have, what they can survive on. So if you think of the bacteria in your guts as your population, it's a very visual thing for me. And if you're not visual, it's going to be difficult to describe it. I'll describe it how I see it, and then you can kind of say whether that fits for you or not. For example, inside my guts, I have a population. I have one farm that helps create all the necessities for absorbing vitamin C, another farm with part of my population which helps cultivate and have an area that is very good at absorbing vitamin B. And so it goes on through the digestive system. So this is like a farm, a population of farmers, cultivators, and very much, in my mind, a very natural ecosystem. And when we don't look after that ecosystem, the bad bacteria, the bacteria that crave sugar, and why a lot of people kind of really crave sugar and have all those sugary craves that they really can't control, is often because they have an overflow of the bad bacteria who really thrive off the sugars and the sweets and the alcohols. And often they've been thrown into disruption by some medication or some drugs or antibiotics that we've had to take to try and heal something. So when the bad bacteria start to take over, they start to thrive. If you can imagine, there's like this farming community and they're very rural, but then all of a sudden these Hell's Angels, all these gypsies come in and they just start taking over. And they don't want to farm the land and they don't want to look after anything, but what they are very, very in need of is the party foods, and they're just having parties the whole time, so they're craving sugars. And this is what I mean when I say that the guts are very, very intelligent. They're sending us messages the whole time. So depending on what messages you're getting is often an indication of what's actually going on inside your stomach. What I also want you to start being very aware of is when you have eaten something, how it feels for you. So not just the fermented foods, but when you've eaten bread or meat or dairy or sugars or anything, just try and be very conscious and very mindful of what effect it's having on you. So, for example, is your stomach bloated? Is it feeling tense? Are you feeling lack of energy? Are you feeling sleepy? This often happens when we have a lot of gluten and things like that. A lot of people report that they become very much more sensitive to flours and things. Some people are able to take milk and the lactose in the milk, and other people are very reactive to it. So it's just something to start being very, very aware of your own digestion system. So if we go back to the very efficient farming, and when we are very efficient farming, the thing that the good bacteria like is not only the probiotics and all the healthy raw foods, but they do like a lot of fiber. That's almost like a pre-probiotic. So how do you feed your farmers, your army of workers, to keep them producing the foods that you need, the compost that you need, to enable you to absorb the vitamin C, the vitamin D, the minerals, and everything else, to just make this whole environment very efficient for you. So they need a lot of fiber. And the way that I get my fiber is with flax seeds. And when I make a juice, I make toasts and things like that out of the pulp, because I find that throwing that away is just not beneficial. The food comes with all that fiber. So there are so many different ways that you can actually use that fiber. So that's one of the things that I do. I don't like to throw anything away. So fibers are very, very important. And as anybody knows who's done my detox, they'll know that psyllium and high fiber is very much part of the detox, because that's actually got a very cleansing, and it moves all the old waste and things out of your body as well. It's something that I often find that when people come and do a detox, or when I've started coaching with people, that they really have a very low opinion of their digestive system. They're not very caring of it. They actually just think of it as a waste disposal unit. Whereas I'm trying to get you to change your perception that your digestive system is the be-all and end-all. It really is one of the most, for me, because that's what I'm passionate about, organs in your body. And it creates hormones, so therefore it gives you a lot of hormonal balance as well. And certainly when I've heard people on the Healthy Gut Summit and things like that, they're talking about not just what I for myself discovered was the hormonal side to do with being premenopausal, the hot flushes and everything that I managed to really reduce, and now I don't have them at all. But you know, anybody who's thinking about having a baby, also you need to have this whole ecosystem working very, very well for you, for your health, but also for the health of your baby. So there's an awful lot of information out there about that, but for aging well and feeling fitter and better and lighter and brighter, it's really, we're just going to be going on to everything to do with the guts. I am the queen of guts, it was seen. And that's why I've become very passionate about making fermented foods. Now I'm still experimenting with them, and if I get a new recipe, then I'll try it out and I'll see if I like the taste of it. And because you're not here with me in my kitchen, you can't actually taste it unless you know what they taste like already. But we'll do our best to describe what they taste like, and you'll know for yourself by asking yourself if you like the taste of something or not. And maybe you know somebody in your community who already makes fermented food, and it's just a really nice way to kind of share recipes and share different foods, especially when they are so potent. And when you have something like even just one cabbage, how much you can produce with that and how long that will last you is brilliant. I'm now getting my boys to drink some of the water kefir and things that I make as well, but they like it because it's kind of fizzy and sugary. So that's quite easy for them to take. And one of my children actually quite likes salty, and he likes olives and gherkins and pickles and things like that. So it's actually quite easy for him to sort of get some of these fermented foods into him as well. So I can start, and I can just very, very simply show you what it is and what we do and how we make these kind of very simple fermented foods. The packs that I sent you was an introduction to the reason why we ferment foods, and also you've got the recipe, the same recipe that I've got here for making the raw sauerkraut. The reason I started with the sauerkraut is because it's just so well known and it's just so quick and so easy, and also gives us time to kind of just get into the swing of things. And I know, Anne, you asked before, does it need to be bio? Does it need to be organic? Preferably yes, obviously, but we can still do an awful lot with things that aren't organic. We can certainly start there, and then when you get the option, or when you find a source for finding organic, then you can go on to that way as well. The other things that we use are, with the cabbage, we use I'm using Himalayan salt. That actually just creates a brine, which actually produces a lot of the moisture and things from the cabbage, and allows all the juices to come out of the cabbage, and that's what we want. So there's only 2 ingredients in this particular recipe that I'm going to show you, and this is what it ends up as. And I jar these, and I have lots and lots of jars of these. This is the raw sauerkraut when it's finished, which I'll show you, and I'll just show you what's going on with the juices and everything in there as well. And this will last months. This will really last a long time in your cupboard, or if you can find a cool place, rather than filling up your fridge or feeling that you need another fridge just to put all your fermented foods in. You can actually, I found a place in the basement that I can put those quite safely, and they still get stronger, but it's they don't really last that long in my house to go on forever and ever and ever. So that's the jar that I'll come back to in a minute. When you're making your this particular recipe, the raw sauerkraut, you need a sharp knife because you're going to be cutting and take the core out. I've got a Magimix blender that I'm just going to grate everything down so that it gets it into the right consistency. And I've got, if you have like a steak mallet or something like that, you can use something like that to sort of grind everything down and get all the juices out. But I'm just using the product for my juicer. That's the best thing I've found so far. I haven't found a meat hammer. So that's what we're going to start with. And I'm hoping that my knife is very sharp. It's not bad. And I just absolutely love the, in fact, that reminds me of the brains or the guts as well, the way it all kind of like interlaces together. What I am going to do is I'm going to take some of the leaves, some of the outer leaves off. You'll see why when we come to finish it off. Because they just go on the top of the jars. And it stops the moisture coming up. So I'll just save some of these leaves on the outside. Nice and pretty. You've got to get quite red hands when you do it. You can use red cabbage or you can use the green cabbage. I particularly like using the red cabbage because I like the colour. This looks more appetising to me than the green cabbage. No, it's not rocket science. It's fairly easy. Cutting up a cabbage. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a bit of noise as I shove these through the grinder so that I can actually show you with the grater, so I can actually show you what consistency they come out at. Right. So I'm going to make a bit of noise. Right, that's all ground up. I've still got a bit more to do. I'm going to do that in a minute. So with some people like to use a mandolin or a hand grater, but basically it's just going to be all small pieces because that's how I like it when it's in the jar. So I've ground all that up, grated it all, and the big bits, I'll just take the bigger bits out that didn't go through very well and give those a little shot. As I said. nice. Last one. Okay, some more big bits there, big leaves. Okay, so what we've got here is the salt. Just 1 tablespoonful of the Himalayan salt. I particularly like the Himalayan salt because this is just full of all the minerals. It's got about 48 different minerals in there, and it's actually so many different ways that you can use Himalayan salt, not just for eating, putting on your table, but I use it in like a foot bath, or I use it for when I'm detoxing. If anybody has any cold or flu symptoms in particular, I've used for the children if they've got a fever. You can have a bath. Sounds very Egyptian. I have give them a bath, and they just sit in the bath for an hour or something like that, and it's very drawing, like bath salts. It just very draws all the heat and all the toxins and things away and out of the body. So Himalayan salt is just absolutely brilliant. What I've done now is I've put the salt in with the cabbage, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pound it. I'll take all the big bits out that I come across, and I'll put those in a minute. Because what you're doing here is when you pound the cabbage with the salt, you're getting all the juices to come out. And what you want to do when you've got your jar like this, you want to make sure that all the cabbage is below a layer of the juice, therefore it doesn't go off. That's how you keep it good. So this is kind of a job you can do periodically. You can see if you have like a meat hammer or something like that, it's just maybe got more surface area. You'll be able to bash everything down. The salt will also bring out the juices from the cabbage as well. Sometimes all the big bits don't go through the grater. It's already getting quite moist. You can hear it. I mean, I can certainly see it. It's probably not best to be wearing a light colour when I'm doing this. Start to see that some juices are coming out of the bottom. There's two different schools of thought with this. Some people keep it in the bowl and leave it at room temperature for a couple of days, and they pound it every day, and then they put it in the jars. Or you can put it in the jar and squash everything down as best you can, and then every day push it down again a little bit further in the jar. So sometimes my preference is to leave it in the bowl, covered with a tea towel, because it's easier for me to pound away. But today I'll show you how we just put it in the jar, and we make sure that the moisture level is above the cabbage. And that's what we use the outside leaves for as well. Actually just to press down on top of the cabbage to make sure that it's airtight. So when the cabbage is below the surface of the water, then it can't get oxidized. It can't actually take in the oxygen, so therefore it won't go off. It won't go moldy. If anything is above the water level or touching the air, then it's likely to go moldy. If it does go moldy, you find that when you open up a jar, then it's got like a slight bit of mold on the top. You can just scoop all that mold away, and everything underneath will be absolutely fine, because that's created the layer. But when we're talking about fermented foods, a lot of people get very nervous, because basically you're asking the food to kind of transform itself. In my little booklet I sent you, when I talk about the sauerkraut, the cabbage is one of the basic ones for doing the fermented foods, because it is actually already covered in a lot of bacteria itself. But then this process produces a lot more different strains of bacteria as well. There are millions of strains of bacteria that you need within your own digestive system. That's why during the 6 weeks I'll be doing 6 different kinds of fermented food, so that you've got a variety. And the bigger variety you've got, the better for your digestive system. The better for your bacteria, the better for your immune system. Okay, so that's simply what we keep on doing. It's a nice hobby for an evening. Right. And what I'm going to do is just put some of this into one of the jars, just to show you how much moisture, even with that little bit of pounding, we've been able to create. I use these mason jars, but what you can also do is get similar jars. They've got like an airtight lid on them. They've got a bit of rubber across here, which is like an air seal as well. They work very nicely. You can use normal jars with normal lids, and then you just put the cabbage on the top and make sure everything's squashed down as much as you can, and then the cabbage leaves on the top, and then you can use those. The only thing is with the normal metal lids is that they will corrode, so I sometimes put like a layer of cling film or something like that between the cabbage and the jar lid. And the texture of this will just get softer and softer as time goes on. And as I press that down, you can actually see the moisture coming up already. And so it will just keep producing more and more moisture. That's what we want. I particularly like salty and vinegary tasting things, so it wasn't too bad for me to transit over to the fermented foods. At first I wasn't sure about them, but then I've become to really like them. You can see there's quite a lot of moisture in here already. That's what we want. And then every day what I'll come along and I'll just push down. Sometimes what I use is something like that, like a little jar that goes inside, and then I can push the jar down, and push the glass down until all the moisture is coming up here. And sometimes you can weigh that down, you can put a rock in it or something like that. Or what I'm quite fond of doing is if I use a jar to bring it down, you can fill the jar up with water, and that's just enough weight. So if you can see hopefully you can see that. I don't know whether that's a very good shot or not. But as I'm pushing the jar down, so the moisture's coming up. So in other words, you can keep it like that on your kitchen surface, and it needs to be at room temperature, and it'll ferment quicker the warmer it is. So it doesn't want to be too warm. It's out of the way. It's in a safe place. I've got a shelf along here that's got all my fermented foods and things going on there. So you just put it to one side and you don't disturb it, apart from making sure that all the juices are still coming out. And it will carry on producing juice for the rest of the 2 days, 3 days that you keep it out fermenting. So that's one done, and then we just put the rest in this other jar. It's as you can see, it's very quick and very easy. And it's so much easier, I always find, when you can watch somebody else do something rather than trying to read it from something. I mean, I think we're all far more visual, and this is why video is so good. Apart from not being able to smell or taste something, I think video is brilliant. And not much can go wrong with this particular recipe, and it'll treat you so well. Yeah, that's that all now. And all the juices are beginning to come up now. You want to taste it from this point. It's probably more salty than cabbage tasting. And I'll just use another jar just to weigh that down a bit. And you can see again all the juices coming up, and that'll just get juicier and juicier over the next couple of days. So those two, they're ready. They're ready to start fermenting. I'll chop those up in a minute into smaller pieces. Now this is the one that has been ready already for probably a couple of weeks. What I've got here is I've got the cabbage leaves resting on top, which creates a layer. And the colour's quite different. The colour's gone a much rosier red colour rather than the purple. And again, there's lots and lots of juice there. And basically, when you come to eat your sauerkraut, you would take a spoonful out, for example. I mean, that would be a large spoon. I'd probably have 1 or 2 of those. And then you push everything down again, make sure the liquid's over the top, and then put the cabbage leaves again on the top of the jar to make sure that you've got a seal away from the air. For the moment, we're just going to push everything back down again. Put the outside cabbage leaves over the top. And bring that up. Now that is ready just to sort of be eaten whenever I'm ready. My hands are all very purple. Let's give them a rinse. And seeing as I have all these pieces here, I'll just cut them up by hand. I know some people that have very big chunks when they do their sauerkraut. So it's just your preferred size. Right, so those then, they're ready, and they just sit on your countertop for the next 2 to 3 days. You might want to know how you know when they're ready. Basically, the cabbage will have broken down and it'll be a lot softer. And you can taste it, and you can just see whether you like the taste or not. It'll be very salty. At that stage, if I think it's too salty for me, then what I sometimes do is I add in some apple cider vinegar. I'll show you. Apple cider vinegar, biological apple cider vinegar. It's a great detoxing agent as well, but it just brings the saltiness away and it gives it more of a vinegary taste. So I particularly like apple cider vinegar, and it's just absolutely brilliant for you as well, for alkalizing your blood and alkalizing your body, and fantastic. So, but anyway, within 3 days you can start eating those. So that would be a start, and then make another one. So have a little factory going on. So as soon as you started eating those, you want to start a new batch so that it's just always rolling forwards. And next week we'll be making a different recipe called kimchi, which is something that you can alternate it all with as well. And that's a bit more of a spicy dish. Right, so my chopping board's all red. Bigger bits in there on the top. And under the juice. And that's it. Getting them under the juice as well. Okay. I also, when I sent you your pack last week, I also sent you the 2 little sheets that you could fill in. One being your health quest, because I think it's very important for you to know what it is, how you would measure that you're actually feeling healthier, feeling better, feeling more energized. So that's what that's about. And it's pretty cool in that the questions really get you to think on a different level. So 5 pieces of evidence that prove I'm aligned with better health. So you can think about your mobility, you can think about your flexibility, you can think about your particular problems, if you've got any problems digestive-wise, mentally-wise. It's the same as whenever we do any detox, you'll clear the mental fog, you'll lift any depressions and those kind of things as well. So those are all kind of things that can be noted in there. You know, think about the quality of your skin, think about your eyesight, think about the quality of your nails and your hair. It's very good to be appreciative of the actual health we've got, rather than always saying, I don't like this about myself, or I don't like that about myself, and this doesn't work and that doesn't work. So tell me the things that do work. So, you know, you've got your eyesight, you've got your hearing, you've got your sense of touch, you can, you've got your mobility. So start appreciating how well your body does actually work. That's what that one's there for, to be grateful of your body. And it will start responding, and it will start working better for you once you start paying attention to it. This is quite a clever one. Decide how you want to feel today. All sorts of different things come up for me when I think about that, and it's not necessarily to do with my body, it can just be to do with how I want to emotionally feel. So I want to trust, I want to feel playful. The other day it was one I want to feel more connected to people. Then you've also got to think about connecting in with your body, and what would I do, what do I need to do today to feel more joy with my health, more connected with my health. So sometimes you'll have an inspiration and you'll have a thought, and that's potentially your body speaking to you and just say, you've just got to rest. You've got to take a long rest. So sometimes that's what I'll do, especially if I've been fighting the fact that I'm feeling so tired. Then I'll just think, right, okay, I've really got to take care of myself and have a rest. So this is all about taking care of yourself. But just quite a nice one in the fact that sometimes we overwhelm ourselves with how many things that we believe we have to get done in a day. We're brought up in a society that says to be active, to be very productive is good. And sometimes we can't get everything done. So if you are of a spiritual nature, then it's often nice to believe that we can just delegate some things to the universe. And when you've actually itemized those things down, it's like, ooh, great, I don't have to think about those things today. You may think about them tomorrow. You may feel ready to deal with them tomorrow. You may feel ready to deal with them in a week's time or a month's time. But, you know, just by delegating them and thinking, right, that's off the list today, I don't need to worry about that. And often, very often times, things will just start sorting themselves out. On the sheet here, we've also got a wild hair intention. This is to get you in touch with the things that you really, really would just love to happen. Not in your wildest dreams would you like work out how they were going to happen or try and control how they were going to happen. But this would just be something that you would just tick all the boxes and just give you the most fantastic day. Could be to do with your work, could be to do with your life, could be to do with love life, romance, children, anything. It's just, I would just so love it if, yeah, I was just taken out for the whole weekend and spoiled from something like that. And just be very detailed about, you know, where you'd like to go and what you'd like to do and all those kind of things. So that's what that one's about. It's just to start getting you in touch with your playful side. No holds barred, just to have great fun with some wild idea that you've got. So that's what the wild hair intention is. And vibration and abundance contract. This is just where you're able to just say, oh my God, I am so lucky that I've got this, I've got that. It's again just having more gratitude and putting your thoughts out there that anything is possible. And then what you do is you actually sign it, so that that's your contract with having just a more vibrant life. So this is what this is about. It's fun. It's just to get you away from thinking about health and being too serious and things too many times. And it really doesn't take very long to do. Maybe to begin with it starts taking a while, but after a while you get used to it and you start having a bit more fun with it. The reason I sent you the daily checklist is along the same lines. The daily checklist is basically to fill out your health quest, to just keep you in touch with the more playful side and more grateful side of all the health things that you have got going on. And choose a self-care activity for yourself. Often we don't give ourselves the time for ourselves, especially if we've got family or other people or we're working hard. We don't take any care of ourselves. We come last. So this is to start building into your day something you can do for yourself to care for yourself. For me, I've started following on YouTube. I've started following this woman called Adele, and she does 30 days yoga. So, and it's only half an hour in the morning. So I drop the boys off, I come back, and I think, right, that's it. I've got 30 minutes to do yoga, and it just sets me up for the day. So that is me taking care of myself. And then about lunchtime, I decide to go for an hour or half an hour walk. And again, that's me taking care of myself. And I'm so much better a person and so much more ready to deal with other things when I've done those things. Getting food and drink ready for the day, that might seem obvious, but then if you are trying to change some of the things you eat and drink, then maybe you need to make a little bit more preparation there. Without being too serious, read labels on some kitchen products and bathroom products that you've got, and then just make decisions whether you really want to be using them or not, or whether you think you could possibly upgrade those for more natural versions of that. Everything goes in steps and stages. Complete today's small step. So whatever step you decide that you're going to make a contract with yourself, then you go ahead and make a small step. So you can check in with me as arranged every Tuesday, and if you've got anything that you want to email me or let me know or ask questions and kind of say, this has happened and I don't know whether it's anything to do with changing my food or making, I made some sauerkraut but this and this, so you know, you can check in with me. Drinking some more water, some more deep breathing in your day. And I think we all know what I mean by that. It's just, you know, taking time to smell the roses and really, really relaxing deep breaths. And the yoga for me is because it allows my body to stretch and allows the oxygen to go all the way around the body and really allows me to feel and be in my body, be connected to my body. So that's what I mean by stretches. I think too often we're in our headspace and we're not in our body, so it's very good to do something that brings you back into your body, which is very much to do with what my coaching is about. It's completely non-food related, and it's more to do with how we feel in our body, so really starting communicating with our body. Relaxation and meditation exercise. So these are just some of the ways that we can check in with ourselves and having things not too food orientated. And if we start doing everything in little steps, it should be good. I want to ask, are there any questions? Is there anything that you want to say? Anything you want to ask me? Then unmute yourself and ask away.
Yes, I had a question regarding the fermentation.
The which?
The fermentation.
Yeah.
So you said to save the large leaves. So
Yeah.
it's just to use them as covers?
Yeah.
When will you put them there?
Okay, I'll probably put them on tomorrow. So I'll just fold the leaf over like that. The leaf in, and then you can use that, and it's just providing an extra cover. So you've got the moisture, you've got the liquid, and you've got the leaf, which is providing the lid, the cover. So that's what I do with the leaves. Yeah,
but the next day only.
Well, I mean, I've done that now, but just every time you take them out, it's just a very sloppy process. So if you are going to do that, it's great because it preserves the leaves as well. But just be careful because it really, you know, you can see it splashes, and it's a very, if you're using red cabbage, it can make quite a mess. So sometimes I've waited until I'm sure that I'm happy with this, like 3 days. I put the leaves in the fridge or something like that, and then when I seal it, when I put it to store, then I'll put the leaves over the top. It's your preference, but that you can do it either way. You can do it right now, so then tomorrow when I come and do this, I'll take the leaves off, I'll press it down a little bit more, I'll put the leaves back on, and then I'll keep on pressing away. Anything else, Anne?
Yes. What if you eat too much of it?
Okay. Are you familiar with sauerkrauts anyway? Do you use fermented already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you make them or do you buy them?
I buy it ready.
Okay, because there's two different kinds. You can either, if you're lucky, you're able to get a raw fermented food that's available. But a lot of spot-bought ones in jars that have been processed, they have been heated, so they're not necessarily so potent. They're absolutely not so potent.
Yeah, I get the raw one.
Okay, so if you eat too much, different people have different reactions. What can happen is it can actually have a reverse effect than giving you lots of energy. It can actually deplete your energy because you're changing the environment for your bacteria. So they can actually protest sometimes and kind of make you quite swollen, for example, or more gassy. You know, just like when you add more fruit and vegetables into your diet, if you've not normally taken those, you can get more gassy. That's their way of protesting. That's how they react. What will also happen to your, what should we call them, eliminations, your poo, it will get much, much softer. So sometimes it's just a question of backing off a little bit if you find that. So you can actually get that it just makes you, because it's so full of enzymes and so full of probiotics, then it can actually make your poo very, very soft. And if it's not the consistency that you're happy with, then just reduce what you're taking for a while and then slowly build it up again. You don't actually need that much. With every meal, you can have like one large spoon.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
What do you eat it with? Or do you eat it on its own?
You can eat it on its own, but I mean, you can eat it with anything. For example, if I was to do the best sales speech ever, I'd say if you ate fermented food, you wouldn't have to change anything else in your diet, and you'd still get 100% better off health because you'd be putting so much goodness in. But how I eat it is if I have a piece of fish and I have my normal plate and my vegetables, then I'll put a spoonful on my plate. So it's like a condiment. So I put it with whatever I've got. And some people who are still eating meat and things like that, they eat the sauerkraut just as like a relish. They have it on their plate with everything that they have. I made some. Well, they're my kind of sandwiches. It's not bread. It's my little crackers, my toast that I make. I put hummus on there. I put sprouts on there, and I put sauerkraut on there, and that was my sandwich, for example. So yeah, lunch and dinner. That's easy. That's how I would eat them. Does that answer your question, Julianne, or would you have any specific meals that you think it wouldn't go with?
Oh no, that sounds lovely. Twice a day, then, not at breakfast, or were you just about to say I don't put it on my porridge?
I don't put it on my porridge. I have for breakfast this week. I've been having a little bit of porridge, but I've been using fermented milk this week, and it's something that I would never have dreamt that I would like. I know that my ex is Dutch, and they drank a lot of fermented milk. Though it was store-bought, I never thought I'd ever kind of say, I actually quite like fermented milk because to me it was just heavy. Well, it was horrible. But no, I mean, now I like it. So that's how you can add it in on your breakfast. And for the boys, every morning I give them a glass of water kefir. So that's a different way of having a fermented food in the morning, so fermented milk. Or if your digestion is okay with milk, all these things you have to try it, see how it feels, keep on trying it, because there will be a transition point when your bacteria is just kind of sorting itself out and working its way through. Anything else, Julia? You've muted yourself, I can't hear you.
I'm just saying, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions? Did you like the fact that you could just track yourself? So you can send them to me. You can send me emails, but also I want you to track yourself on other things that are just non-food related, because I think our concentration sometimes can be a little bit too much. Everything to do with food. This is certainly my education and where I came from. it was the all or nothing. You know, you've got to be able to do this, this, and this. But I think we should be able to track ourselves on how we feel in our feeling, in our body, and in our head and our emotions, rather than just what we think the food is doing for us. So I think by tracking yourself when you've eaten something, you know, sometimes immediately or even half an hour later, just notice how you're feeling. I noticed when I was ramping up my fermented foods, I think I've told you this story, I don't know whether you heard it or not, but I've certainly told the story quite a few times, in that the end of last year I was having just these amazing hot flushes, and I was just like, I don't get these. What is this? And it was just unbelievable for me. The more women that I spoke to, that they said that, oh God, I've had those for 10 years. You know, ladies older than myself, and then I was speaking to people my kind of age or a little bit older or younger, and they were kind of saying, oh God, I've had them for a couple of years, you know, and I just have to live with them. You know, clothes off, clothes on, bed, not being able to sleep through the night. And I was like, yeah, I'm at that stage, and I don't believe that this is necessary. So I was going on to looking on the internet for all the things that could help with these kind of things, and going natural, bought a load of stuff, didn't really see any changes. And then I had a friend come to stay with me, and we were just making so much fermented food, and we were just playing. So every single meal we were having some sort of fermented food, and I was like, right, okay, this is kind of cool. It's an education for me to have quite so much. And then I noticed one night, I thought, oh, I had a really good sleep last night. I feel really refreshed. And then I thought, yeah, I didn't have any hot flushes. Didn't put it down to anything. And then a week later, I remembered again. I thought, yeah, I've been sleeping well recently. So what have I changed? The only thing I can put it down to is by eating more fermented foods, and that's now, you know, that's 4 months. 4 months now, and I've had absolutely none of those symptoms at all. So I can only say, because I'm still eating my fermented foods, I don't want to stop because I don't want to get them back again. I can only put it down to that. And the more I've read about it, and I went and I listened to this Healthy Gut Summit, it went on for about a week and a half, and every single person was talking about how it changes your hormones, and for, you know, if you want to get pregnant or pregnancy, and, you know, healthy babies, but also for perimenopausal women, when we go through a lot of changes in our bodies, then you know, it's really a good time to really start looking after your guts, because where your hormones were originally produced don't produce hormones for you anymore. So the kidneys, the liver, and the gut produce the hormones. So that's why you need to really have a very strong immune system and a very efficient gut. Not very many people know that. So anyway, that's my story, and that's why I'm now kind of trying to show people how to make fermented food, because it's just been so overwhelmingly brilliant for me, and I'm giving them to a couple of people locally as well, just to see what changes they come up with as well. It's great for me. It's like changing the chemistry of your body. I love it. Right, if anybody's got any other questions, if not, then we can wrap this up and I can do the washing up. Julianne, you're waving goodbye. You finished, Anne? You finished as well? All right, that's great. Give me a contact in the week if you want to ask anything. That's absolutely fine. Until then, I'll see you.